I'd like to welcome you to our 2019 Bristol Sports Hall of Fame induction, and at this time, direct your attention to the center doorways for the introduction of our honorees for this year.
Welcome to the Bristol Sports Hall of Fame 2019 Induction Program Celebration. Let's introduce the class of 2019. Jim DeShane. Art Whitehead. Wendy Geit Kenyon. Accepting on her behalf is Hal Kilby. Bob Karen. Pat Parenti. Dean Pasavage. And Malcolm Huckabee.
Thank you. This time I would ask you to please rise and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce a few distinguished guests who are with us tonight. From our City Council, Councilor Mary Fortier, and Councilor Peter Kelly. We'd also like to recognize our retired City Councilor Dave Mills, and our past president of the Bristol Sports Hall of Fame. We'd like to give a special recognition to Sharon Fortunato and her family. Her husband, John, was one of our founders. So, Sharon, thank you for supporting us once again. And also give a shout out to the Bristol Tramps organization. As I'm sure you're all aware, the Tramps will be celebrating their 50th reunion dinner in May. We urge you all to support them at that dinner. So congratulations to the Tramps. I'd like to recognize the members of the Bristol Sports Hall of Fame who have been inducted, who are here with us tonight. So as I call your name, if you would stand, then we'll try to do all the applause at the end. Bart Beardsley. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, we'll do it. Tony Carrier. Tammy Chapman. Chris D'Amato. Joe DeFlippi. Gail Erickson. Bob Freemuth. Joanne Galati. Mike Giovinazzo. Bill Greger. Mary Ellen Holden. Debbie James. Hal Kilby. Beth Lafferty. Paul LaFleur. Maury Lavero. Phil Manarino. Dave Mills. Steve Mills. Bob Montgomery. Tom Moylan. Mark Noon. Rick O'Brien. Bernie O'Keefe. Gary Palladino. Doug Pina. David Raponi. Carl Richardson. Dennis Sigmund. Tamara Stafford Kirk. Bill Sweet. Ed Swickless. Don Titus. Jim Ziogas. Bob Zisk. And the Bristol Tramps organization. Who did I miss? Steve Cook, sorry. Steve Cook. Anybody else I missed? All right, let's have a round of applause. Congratulations. And a thank you to all of our past inductees. We really appreciate your continued support year after year, coming back and joining us for the program. At this time, I'm going to call upon the Vice President of the Bristol Sports Hall of Fame, Mark Ziogas, for some words of welcome. Mark.
Good evening. Just so you know, I didn't volunteer for this job, but this year we're doing something different. We're having a buffet dinner outside, so we needed to kill some time between the introductions and getting the buffet ready. So Bob Callett said at the last meeting that we need somebody that can talk a lot and doesn't care if the audience is interested or not. And Hal Kilby said, that's the description of an attorney. So they said, all right, Ziogas will do it. So that's how I got stuck doing this today. But anyway, we'd like to welcome all of you today to the annual induction ceremony. As chairman of the nominating committee, it's a difficult task taking hundreds of resumes and boiling it down into a couple inductees every year. But the committee did a great job this year. The inductees that we have are a great group, so we're really excited about that, and I think you'll really enjoy the evening. Besides the induction ceremony, the Bristol Sports Hall of Fame also is involved in a lot of other different things. And one of them is we have an annual golf tournament in July. We also run a leadership council 3 times a year. We bring the captains and the leaders of all the sports teams at the 3 high schools, and we have a breakfast for them. And we bring in speakers, we do some activities with the kids, and we're trying to teach them leadership skills, not only on the field, but also in the classroom and also in the community. And it's been a great experience for us, and I think the kids have gotten a lot out of it. And besides just doing the breakfast with them, we also have them involved in community events. They all participate in the Day of Caring event in May. They've done clothes drives, they've done shoe drives, they've done used sports equipment. So they've been very active in the community, and I think it's been a great asset for the sports teams, and we hope it's making an impact on them. The other thing that we are involved in is the Scholar Athlete. We take the juniors and seniors from the 3 high schools, and those that are meeting a certain GPA average and have received at least 3 varsity letters, they are honored at a dinner at Nucci's, usually in the spring. And this was the brainchild of Jack Hines, and we have named the event after Jack Hines. It's called the Jack Hines Scholar Athlete event. And I know that even in Jack's wildest dreams, there's no way he ever thought those 4 words would go together, Jack Hines Scholar Athlete. But he was the brainchild of it, so we had to name it after him. So just today, I was talking to one of my good friends, Dave Hernandez, and he was all excited about, I said, what are you excited about, Dave? He goes, can you believe it? I got gas today for $1.39. I said, really? Where? He goes, Taco Bell. I said, So, speaking of food, tonight's going to be a buffet style, and you're going to be called to, they're setting it up outside now. Please wait at your tables until one of the staff members is able to tell your table that it's time to go out and eat. So that's how, yeah. The salads are already on the table, so you're welcome to start with the salads at any time, but wait till they call your table to go out to the buffet. I don't know if any of you have watched Madam Secretary, but last week they had an episode where the Madam President is going to be speaking at the writers' dinner, where they kind of have a roast, and the one that Donald Trump never goes to because he's afraid of the roast. But anyway, she's supposed to speak at it, and her husband says, "You're not funny. You probably shouldn't do it." And she says, "No, I'm funny." And so they go on and everything. So anyway, it's kind of like what my wife says to me. So based on the audience, what I hear today, she's probably right that I probably shouldn't have spoken tonight, but that's okay. Anyway, as a good segue into that, the next person I would like to introduce is our Madam Mayor. And I'm looking for someone. She's a person who continues to make Bristol better, and we're going to greetings from our fair city. I'm going to introduce Mayor Ellen Zappo Sasso.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another great community event for Bristol. I think it's important when we come to events like this, and I say it a lot when we're at community gatherings, that the cycles of Bristol history, whether they be the general history, the sports history, or the military history, are really the pieces that bring us together and define us as a community. And I think tonight, as I look at some of these bios and see Bob Karen, who bit of Bristol history, I didn't know there was a pro football team once called the Bristol Blues in 1950, and here we are having a Bristol Blues at Muzzy Field today. I look at Jimmy DeShane and all these people who have devoted all this time to their own careers. Malcolm Huckabee, now on the park board. Jimmy coaching Forceville Little League. All these McCabe Waters alumni. It's one of those things where they really create foundations for all of us. And I think about all the wrestling tournaments that I've been to, that I've seen Pat Parenti, and he didn't need to be there, but these are the pieces that we all together support community. And when you think about the role of the scholar athlete and the athletes in general, and how some kids actually go to school so they can play sports, and the role that that plays, and to be able to look up to people like Art Whitehead and Malcolm and Jimmy and Pat and Bob and say, I can be that. I can be like them. To have two people tonight who played in the NBA sitting amongst us. This is what defines Bristol, and it's so great that we have these events, that we can pause from the busyness of our daily lives and just celebrate and talk about what made Bristol great in the past and also in the future. And for those of you who haven't seen the press clippings or the photos or been to stop in and peek at the Bristol Sports Armory, that's another cycle of American history and Bristol history specifically that's coming back online. And we are very fortunate to have another facility like that to be servicing another generation of Bristol athletes. So enjoy the evening. I know I will, listening to more about these people that we're honoring tonight, and thank you for being part of our community.
Thank you, Mayor. And now I'd like to call Monsignor Joe DeShaka from the Divine Mercy Parish in Hamden. Although he's been in Hamden for a few years, he still comes back, and we certainly appreciate that for the invocation. Father.
Thank you. Let us pray. We gather here this evening once again in the season of Thanksgiving as the Bristol Sports Hall of Fame to honor inductees, to celebrate athletic ability, and to enjoy one another's company. We say thank you to you, our gracious God, the God of all blessing and all goodness. May the food we share strengthen us in body and refresh us in our spirits. May we ever be grateful and live lives of honesty and integrity, encouraging one another to do the same. Asking God's blessing. May we experience the enthusiasm of life this evening as we share this meal and honor the accomplishments of our inductees. And together we say, Amen.
Thank you. As Mark said, it's going to be a buffet. Please stay at your tables until the Doubletree staff tells you to go up. Thank you, and we will rejoin the program after dinner.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Again, welcome to the 23rd Annual Bristol Sports Hall of Fame Induction Program. Shortly, you will meet and hear from the class of 2019, but just first a few announcements. First of all, I want to give just a brief explanation on why Wendy Geit Kenyon, who's not here tonight. I think some of you know, but unfortunately, about a week ago, she had a very bad fall at her house and was injured quite a bit and just was physically unable to be here tonight. So understandably, I want to thank Hal Kilby who's going to be accepting on her behalf, and we do wish her a full and speedy recovery. So let's give her a round of applause anyway. And we do hope to invite her back next year and give her, and hopefully can recognize her in some way at next year's event. All right, next I would like to congratulate a few past inductees that are here tonight. First of all, Mike Giovinazzo, class of 2011, who this past May recorded his 600th career victory for the Bristol Eastern baseball team. So, Mike, congratulations. Also here tonight is Paul LaFleur, class of 2013, who this past year celebrated his 50th anniversary with American Legion Baseball. Quite an honor, Paul. Congratulations. Also here, congratulations to Dennis Sigmund, class of 2003, who was inducted into the Bristol Township, Pennsylvania, which is his hometown, I believe, into their Hall of Fame this past year. So congratulations to Dennis on that award. I think that's probably about 15 Hall of Fames that Dennis is in now, right, Dennis? I don't know, every year it's a different Hall of Fame. I don't know who he's paying off, but anyway. And finally, congratulations to Joe DeFlippi, class of 2013, who was honored by the Bristol Tramps this past year. And also to Phil Manarino, class of 2012, who was honored by the Bristol Tramps this past year. And also, just last month, was inducted into the Plainville High School Hall of Fame. So congratulations to Joe and Phil on those awards. And speaking of past inductees, I just want to really thank, tonight we have 31 past inductees here. I think we have 75 that are actually living. None of the deceased could make it tonight. But, so we have 31 of 75 living inductees that are here. And I think that's quite a tribute. And not only is their presence important here for this program, but many of them, I want to thank them for their financial support in the booklet. Many of them play in our golf tournament, and they do other things for us. So it's really a pleasure and an honor to have all of you past inductees here. So thank you for being here. And now just a few thank yous. I want to thank, as you know, this was the first year we went to a buffet, and I think the buffet, from what I've heard from the tables, was a big success. So I want to thank Christine Millay at the DoubleTree for her help in preparing this. And I also want to thank the First Bristol Federal Credit Union for their continued support of our VIP reception. So thank you to those. Can't forget this one. Special thanks to my wife, Patty Callett, and Dave Greenleaf for working the registration table. And also I want to thank Noreen Zarell, who is here, for all her help that she does for us with the bio. So thank you to those people. And just a reminder that Nutmeg TV is filming the entire program. And on your tables is a schedule of when the induction will be rebroadcast, so you can if someone is not here and you want to see it again, you can do it. I know Dave Pasavage can't wait to go home and see it the next couple of weeks, he told me. And I also want to remind the inductees that they will be getting a complimentary copy of the induction, and also the pictures that we're hanging out in the foyer. Please take those pictures home with you. Those are yours to take home at the end of the evening. I want to thank the induction committee for their hard work and support to make this night successful. Dave Greenleaf, Ellie Wilson, Tom Reganey, Bob Freeman, Hal Kilby, and John Calipetro. Thank you to that committee for all your hard work. So, and I do want to thank all the directors. You see the booklet we have here. There's a lot of ads in the booklet. And I do want to thank all the directors for their support in helping out in securing the ads with the booklet and all the help that they give us all year long. And two special thanks. First to Linda Manarino, who is our ticket chairperson and handles all the table assignments. So I think Linda is out in the hall. She won't come in, but let's give her a round of applause anyway. And again, it's unbelievable how much this man does, but a big thank you to my co-chairman, Hank Lodge. Where is Hank sitting over here? He can be a real pain at times, as we all know, but he does so much for the Hall of Fame, behind the scenes, preparing a lot of the stuff that you're going to see tonight. So we really wouldn't be able to have this without his help. So Hank, thank you for all your help with that. And finally, the man behind the scenes back there, Tom Mazzarella, who is actually produces this whole program, and actually thanks to his son who's helping him here tonight. So Tom and Sal Mazzarella, thank you for all you do for the Hall of Fame. And I would like to encourage you, speaking of Hank and Tom, we do have a very excellent website, bshof.org. For those of you who have not been here before, many of the past speeches are on our website. If you look at the names up here, if you want to hear their speech, it's probably on our website. We have an excellent scrapbook section. We have many sports organizations that have a lot of information on them, so you can check that out. And if you are so inclined, if you want to nominate somebody for possible induction, you can also do that online. So I really encourage you to visit our website. Hank and Tom and they really do a lot of work on it. So please take the time to look at it sometime. I don't think you'll be disappointed. And now finally, we're going to see our annual alumni moment section. We're going to see a couple individuals, and I just want you to, while you're watching these two individuals, count how many Hall of Famers are mentioned in this alumni segment. And we'll give you a quiz after. Tom, all yours.
Saying that I was recruiting. Now see, there's a game in recruiting, ain't not knowing the kids, because you start them at 8, 9, and bring them on up. So they give you a list, and you look at the list, and you look down there. I said, oh God, there's a Raponi. I picked him. There's a Bates. I picked him. I didn't see the kid. There was a Samad. I picked him. Then you know if there was Watson down there, I took them too. That was automatically. Even the girls. And Whitey Zazinski. Oh my God. Whitey thought I was prejudiced. I called him Whitey. I did. I said, Whitey, go over there and straighten those boys out over there. Whitey, see those guys over there? Straighten them out! I didn't know his name was Harry. And about, what's her name?
Mine?
No. Galati.
Joe, go ahead.
I got one more thing to tell you. I was called to go to Eastern High. Boy was out there raising, hell. And he had a pipe in his hand. Now, I parked my cruiser in the wrong spot. And he said, you gotta go around that way. Well, I started running. Well, I'm running. Here comes Galati. Oh, she was running. I mean, she went right by me. She says, what you doing there, big man? Now, if I had time to strangle her, I would have strangled her. Well, I was too tired.
I began coaching wrestling at Bristol Central with Chuck Drury. I volunteered Chuck was the head coach. He was awarded the head coaching position a couple days before me. We both started teaching in that year, and Tom Monahan was the athletic director. I applied to teach at Bristol Central a couple days after he appointed Chuck the job, and I said to Tom, could I volunteer and coach since I had grown up in Pennsylvania and I wrestled and so on, and Chuck said, boy, I'd love to have you, because Chuck didn't know anything, and if Chuck was here, I'd tell the same joke I told the other night, but it wasn't a joke. I would do all the technique, and Chuck didn't have any kids at the time, and Chuck would see what I did and then go home and try all those things out on his wife at home, and I'm not sure he ended up with 4 kids out of that, so I'm not really sure how that came about.
Okay, how many past inductees did you have in there? I counted 7, including them. So we quite a few past inductees were mentioned in those comments. So, and finally, tonight is a special night for our inductees and their family and friends. So, we ask your cooperation in being courteous and respectful during their speeches, so that it will be a night to remember. So thank you for coming, and I'll turn it back over to Dave. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you, Bob. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the gentleman who has introduced all of our inductees for the past 22 years, Mr. Tom Monahan. Tom.
Dave, thank you very much. Bob Catlett gave me a few minor changes in the programming, and I'm more confused than ever. We have 7 recipients tonight. One young lady could not be here, and I will read her speech when it comes to her term. We have a montage of all of the inductees. Each one will have an opportunity to show what they did. That's how we worked it, how good they were in a variety of sports. And we'll be showing that as well. Again, Tom Mazzarella did a super job setting that up and working on it. And as someone who has been hanging around the TV business for a bit, I can only appreciate the hard work that goes into it. So, Tom, where are you? Did he run? Good job, kid. Well done. All right. I will name the recipient, then we'll go to the montage of that person, after which I'll read a little bit of the background and have that person come up and receive the award. So, our first inductee tonight, Malcolm Huckabee.
There he is, young man from Connecticut, sophomore out of Bristol, Connecticut. Huckabee is the man for BC right now. Mitch Holtis with you, along with former Boston College and Miami Heat alum Malcolm Huckabee. Huckabee tries to respond and does. Trying to find Huckabee. So Huckabee, they do. He drives, the runner. It's loose on the floor, picked up by Huckabee from Boston College.
Advanced win tonight. Doug, I cannot wait to get this thing going.
A 3, Huckabee. Oh! Unbelievable, we're warning in his face. Huckabee for 3. A 9-point Boston College lead. But Malcolm Huckabee, I mean, nobody's walking around with Malcolm Huckabee t-shirts on. Not yet, anyway. But they might after they might after this, yeah.
Malcolm began playing basketball at the Forceful Boys Club before moving on to the Memorial Boulevard School and ultimately Bristol Central, where he won all-state honors and was a member of the Class L state championship team. That was back in 1990. And that team was ranked among the top teams in the nation that year. His 1,645 career points, the second highest total in the history of Bristol Central. Also a baseball player, he was drafted by the Houston Astros back in the 1990 MLB draft. He went on to play basketball for Boston College. He helped lead the program to the NCAA Elite Eight in 1994. He was inducted into the Boston College Varsity Club Hall of Fame in 2005 and also inducted into the ACC Class of 2015 Basketball Legends class. He played pro basketball abroad and was also on the roster of the NBA's Miami Heat in 1997. He began a college television career back in 2010 and became an ESPN college basketball analyst in 2012. Welcome into the Hall of Fame tonight, Malcolm Huckabee. Congratulations, Malcolm.
So, I had to smile when I heard that 1,600 points in high school. I was texting with my brother before I was coming there, and I said, if he would have passed me the ball a little bit more when I was a freshman, I probably would have had a little bit more points. But, it's so good to be here, see so many faces that I haven't seen in so many years. Teachers, so many people that made an impact in my life. And, I didn't write a speech. I knew that I wanted to be quick. I'm actually calling the game tomorrow noon in Syracuse. So as soon as I speak here, I'm going to be driving up to Syracuse. So I'm definitely going to be quick. But, I wanted to be here and just say thank you. Really, it's not about me, the accomplishments, that's nice and all, but, it's about the people that had an impact on my life. And I'm going to try to go through all those people because really, for me, when I look back at all these accomplishments that I have, a lot of people in this room were a big reason why. I start off, I look at Mr. Mills. Funny story about Mr. Mills, and Steve's here, and he'll attest to this as well, too. He took me to a WWE wrestling match. Now, my dad said, and Mrs. Mills, God rest her soul, they're like, there's no way we're going to a WWE wrestling match. My mom loved wrestling, Mr. Mills did, and they took us to this match, and I think me and Steve were sitting there looking around the crowd, and I think my mom and Mr. Mills probably had a lot more fun at that WWE wrestling match than we did. But, he was such a great influence on me as a kid. I think about the times we had with Joey McGinn and Steve running around in the backyard, but all the life lessons that he taught me. I think about the Whitehead family. Reverend Whitehead, I still say the prayer that he gave me as a kid. And my faith was very important in this journey. And I think about all the lessons that I learned from Reverend Whitehead. I still call his name every night in my prayers. And he, meant to me and my brothers and my family, it was everything. He talked to us about our faith. And I know as I've gotten older how important that has been in my life. So I wanted to thank him. And I just let you guys know, I know you know this, Renetta, Nikki, we talk about it often, how important Reverend Whitehead was to me as a kid growing up. I think about Kevin Phelan. When I first got up into Boston, you think that Bristol, doesn't have a far reach, but Kevin Phelan, who's been up in the Boston area, has been very successful, has been one of my biggest mentors, a friend, and really has been a really good kind of person for guidance for me as I continue this life journey. I think about Billy Gio. I think about all the times down at the Boys and Girls Club with the Whitehead brothers, playing with those guys, watching them play, and again, just strong role models for me growing up as a kid. I think about Rex Hamilton. I think about Norm Beelan. There's so many people that were impactful in my life. I think about Coach Bates, Jimmy Bates, at Memorial Boulevard. Again, the impact that these people had on my life, all this stuff does not happen without them in my life. But really the one thing that has always been there for me, and I really just wanted to say thank you to them, is my mom and my dad. My mom can't be here tonight. I didn't think I was going to do this, but what they sacrificed for me and my brothers as kids, it really, I look at my kids now, and I know the feelings that they had, and why they did it. Because that's all you want as a parent, is to see your kids have things. You want to see them be successful, but more importantly, you want to see them happy. And I think of the sacrifices that my parents made as a kid. Growing up on Emmett Street, materialistically, we didn't have much, but I felt like I was the richest kid around because we had a family on Emmett Street. Me and my brothers, 3 boys, in a 2-bedroom apartment. In that back room, and I think about some of the times how loud we were back there, and I think of my 2 boys now, and I'm thinking, man, my mom did this with 3 boys in that small place, but we had love, and they made sacrifices for us to make sure that we got an education, to make sure that we were loved, so that way we can go on and do the things that I did. So it's more about saying thank you to them. And finally for me, my brothers. My brother Martin, my brother Troy, I laugh at those pictures right there, but they were some of the most memorable times we had in Forestville Little League. I think about the times that my dad would be out there practicing with us. Not much pressure, just trying to get the boys to get some fundamentals, but more importantly, make it fun for us. So I just wanted to say thank you to them because without them and them making those sacrifices, none of this happens. I want to close on, in this room, and there's some that I may have missed, but every single one of you don't realize the impact that you had on a young Malcolm Huckabee growing up. I think of starting off at Mary A. Callan, going to Green Hills, going to Memorial Boulevard, on up to Bristol Central. And I think about all the teachers that came in my life. I want to say thank you. And some of you are in this room. It doesn't happen without you. It doesn't happen without you putting that time into a young kid like myself and being positive with me. So I just really wanted to say thank you. We are back home now, and I hope that I can do some of the things that some of you people in this room have done for me with some of the younger generation coming up. Because without it, believe me, it would not have happened for me. So again, congratulations to all the other honorees. Really well-deserved. Enjoy the time with your family. But I'm just going to leave with a thank you to all of you in this room. Bristol has been really good to me. And I hope that I can do the same for Bristol. Thank you. Have a great night.
The next inductee is Jim DeShane. Now, Jim played soccer, basketball, and baseball at both Central and Eastern high schools during the 1990s. He was all-conference in soccer and played on undefeated regular season Eastern teams 3 times as the team's leading scorer over his past 2 seasons. A 3-time varsity Leonard winner in basketball, his Lancer teams won 2 CCC South titles. He was a 3-time baseball letter winner, where he earned 2 all-conference and 1 all-state recognition, and he also played on the 1994 state champion American Legion team. Jim went on to Brandeis University, where he earned all New England and first team Division III All-American recognition in his senior year. Drafted in the 10th round by the Chicago Cubs in 1999, he was named the Connecticut Minor League Player of the Year in 2003. He spent 8 years in the minor leagues, reaching as high as AAA. He had career average of .274 with 104 homers, and he played in 776 games. Since retiring from pro baseball following the 2005 season, he has involved himself in a number of baseball area programs. So welcome into the Hall of Fame tonight, Jim Deshane.
Congratulations, Jim.
All right. Good evening. It really is an honor to be here. I want to publicly congratulate all of the other inductees. I also want to thank Hank Lodge, Bob Callett, Chris Casson, Dave Mills, Dave Greenleaf, and the rest of the board of directors for making a night like this possible. It's wonderful to be able to reconnect with teammates, former coaches, and teachers. I really didn't know it as a young person, but I realize it now that it is truly a blessing, and I've been so fortunate to be able to grow up and play ball in a place in which my opinion is one of the most outstanding cities in our nation to do so, Bristol, Connecticut. My sons Chase and Max are here with me tonight, which makes this night extra special. My extended family is here, Marielle, Uncle Pete, Tim, Carl, Barry, Auntie Claudia, Elmer, Marion. Thank you so much for coming. My mom and dad are here as well, which, not so incidentally, has been the case every single time for 42 straight years. Papa and Nomi, thank you for being here tonight and every night. Since I've walked through the door, I've been able to reconnect with some familiar faces here tonight and be introduced to some legendary old ones, which really gets me in the mood to talk. So with that said, I've prepared an oratory of 37 minutes, give or take. All right, so grab your coffee or maybe a beer and buckle up. Actually, I'm just kidding. My boss, Kathy Casson, told me that I needed to avoid the snooze fests, and if she says it, that it goes, so here we go. So I'm not sure we knew at the time, but we had such a strong built-in peer group growing up in Bristol, centered around a common language that supported the basic needs as we matured from boys to men. Sports did that for us in town. Baseball was that for me and so many of us. Muzzy Field, the old boys club, Bristol Central, and Bristol Eastern gymnasiums were the community meeting places. The field was the place where gatherings were planned. It was how we got checked if we got out of line. It was where we primarily challenged each other to be excellent in a variety of ways. We shared common goals through our athletic abilities, and this helped us become part of the greater Bristol community. As an adult, I am a better learner because of the fusion of athletically distilled beliefs and values that have been put to test on the field of competition. And that is, after all, how one knows that a value has value. Those values win out over time again and again. I'm just one case, but certainly not the best case, to demonstrate this principle. Athletics in Bristol is support, it's learning, it's relationships, it's community, it's excellence, it's mastery, it's individualism, it's strategic, and it's valuable. And these things that are valuable should always be promoted and defended, and I really feel like that's the part of what we're doing here tonight. Moving forward, I want to thank a few key people in my development. Coach Pete Dico and Jim Jacobs, who actually incidentally is here tonight. So thank you, Jim, for getting me going when I was in the minor leagues and Little League. I want to thank Mr. Rogers, Mr. Pergaki, and Mr. Dickow, who were my middle school soccer, basketball, and baseball coaches and served so many children in this town so many ways. I want to give a shout out to Terry Scott, who was my summer league coach. Many of you know Terry Scott. He challenged me when I was about 14, and I was just about ready for that next step. I want to thank Mr. Ziogas, who I saw earlier tonight. He took over that American Legion program during my sophomore year and inherited a strong group, and we were homer turned foul ball away from the American Legion World Series. And in seeing that picture reminded me that I need to mention Doc Yohuli. I haven't heard his name tonight, but I want to make sure we give a shout out to Doc Yohuli. He's been around for a long time. He was around for my father, and he was around for me too. So I saw that picture and I thought of Doc. I want to thank Coach Sweet and Coach Green. He was a recent inductee and made school feel like home. We've always set high standards on the pitch. I want to thank Coach Giovinazzo. I played 6 different seasons with Coach G at the helm, and aside from my mother and father, there wasn't an adult during my high school years that I spent more time with or had more influence. He's smart and strategic, and the details mattered, and he demanded that those things mattered for everyone at a great athletic foundation as a result of the structure he provided. This is not an exhaustive list, but as I get older and become more involved, especially as VP of Forestville Little League under the guidance of Scott Lodge and Mary Ellen Holden, I realize how many folks are not always directly coaching children, but are working feverishly behind the scenes nonetheless. Trainers, teachers, administrators, volunteers, grant writers, officials. When taken as a whole, it would be impossible to name everyone. It's more of a hive. The thing I am sure of, though, is that the people in this room are the generous folks I'm referring to. I do, however, want to take a moment to thank some of my closer teammates. We were very fortunate to play on some highly successful teams during the high school years. Timmy Tice, Keith Vines, Gino Spinelli, Adam Sweet, Kevin Kalman, Todd Ziogas, Bunty Ray, Jude Henricks, Adam Platt, Andy Freemuth, Chris D'Amato, Brendan Floyd, Jason Stafford, Ricky Block, Chad McCann, Ronaldo Soto, Jimmy Ziogas, Davey G, Lenny Rhinus, Bryant Martineau, Dave Zibkowski, Sean Paul, Steve Gaudette, and John Kozlak. It was a battle on every field of play wherever we went. I want to thank my uncle Elmer for being an inspiration. I want to thank Jeff and Diane, who are my in-laws. Thank you for always being there to support my children and my family, and also for raising such a beautiful and kind and thoughtful daughter. To my mother and father, the unit, you were there for everything. Married for 42 years. Having a mother and father is a force of nature. It takes a village for sure to allow people to reach their potentials, but equally, it takes a nuclear family. And together you offer that foundation, and now you offer it to even to my children. You're invaluable and irreplaceable. My sister's here tonight. You were always my biggest cheerleader. I didn't always let you know when we were little how moved I was when you said you were happy or proud of me. But family is the most important thing, and it will continue to be. My mother, I want to specifically address my mom. She spent her life so that I could have the opportunity to stand here today, so that I could have focus and clarity and purpose. She threw me socks when I was injured to see if I could still make contact. I had a major eye injury, for those of you who do not know. She never doubted that I'd come back, and all I had to ever do was deliver on the tools that I'd been so gracefully given. And for your kindness and your grace and your willpower, I thank you and I love you. Dad, you showed me so many things. We played so much catch and took so many jumpers, and I had so many conversations. We would use the soldering iron every year to carve ILB, or I love baseball, into the thumb of my glove. You were at every game, at all the important events. You're at all your grandchildren's important events, because a long time ago you made a decision that some things are just important, and because they are, you find a way to do them. One way or another, you just do. No matter the judgment, no matter the spin, I do my best impersonation of you every day. I love you. And Marcy, you're the best decision I've ever made. Our family is healthy exclusively because of you. You gave us beautiful sons. I'm a more reasonable person than I would have been without you. You're the most skilled mother anyone could ask for, and I'm a little bit biased, but also the best educator I've ever worked with. And to top it off, you're beautiful. Everyone's life is better when you're near it, especially mine. Go hard or go home. Thank you very much.
Okay, the next inductee is Wendy Geit Kenyon. Now, prior to high school at Central High, Wendy Geit was named Athlete of the Year at the Memorial Boulevard School in 1974, and also received the Presidential Physical Fitness Award in both 1973 and 74. She was a standout in track and field at that level, where she won a total of 16 first-place ribbons in the annual grammar school meet, 5 ribbons for second place, and 4 for third. She went on to graduate from Central in 1978 after taking part in 4 different sports: field hockey, softball, basketball, and tennis, earning a total of 11 varsity letters. A member of some of Central's first female varsity athletic teams, she won all conference honors in basketball 4 times and was All-State her junior and senior years, and also All-American in 1977. She won 1 letter in softball, 3 in field hockey, 4 in basketball. She once held the school girls basketball record, 901 points, a mark that stood for 11 years. Following college, she played for the Greenwich women's soccer team starting in 1981, serving as captain between 1986 and 1996. Now, Wendy was not able to be here tonight, but she sent in her speech, and she asked that I read it to you tonight. In sports and in life, we sometimes get sidelined due to injuries or other circumstances. When this happens in sport, we look to our teammates to carry the ball for us. It is unfortunate that a sudden injury has prevented me from joining you all tonight, but I look to my teammates to share my words and my honor at being selected for the class of 2019 Bristol Sports Hall of Fame. I was born a natural athlete. I ran around and played every sport possible growing up in the city. The Bristol school programs, the Parks and Rec programs available every summer, the Girls Club, the Girl Scouts program, and their positive influence have all made me the person I am today. I'm honored to be inducted into Bristol's own Sports Hall of Fame with so many others who benefited and excelled in our city sports. Looking at the website of previous greats that were inducted, a few names jump out as they had an overwhelming influence on why I am in this year's class for excellence in sports. Ann Degnan, class of 2002, was my swimming instructor at the Girls Club in the 1960s. Ralph Strong, class of 2000, a tennis great. And I was fortunate to be given tennis lessons with Ralph back in the 1970s. Rit Kowalczyk, class of 2009, was the parent of a friend in our neighborhood who excelled in sports as well as in business. My first real job after years of paper routes was at the print shop, Garrett Printing, where I learned every aspect of how a business works. His advice and encouragement to keep your head down and work hard in anything you do in life still rings true today. This evening's honor for me would not be possible if it were not for the many teammates I had throughout the years. Making friends, learning to respect your opponent, and to work together as a team. No one can do it alone. And so I'd like to thank the Bristol Sports Hall of Fame class of 2019 for being my new teammates this year. I also wish to thank the committee for putting together this wonderful evening to honor me and my fellow classmates, my team of 2019. It is a tremendous effort to host such an event. It's a proud moment for the city of Bristol, and I look forward to a quick recovery, and I will join you all next year in person to thank you once again. I want to thank my family for always being there for me. I regret that all of the guides could not gather for tonight's ceremony, but we definitely are all here in spirit. Thank you very much, and good night. Next recipient, Arthur Whitehead. Born in Alabama, Art Whitehead moved with his family at an early age to Bristol, where he attended both Central and Eastern high schools, graduating in 1963. He participated in football, basketball, and track, but basketball was his sport, as he was named to all league teams while playing that sport at Bristol Central High. His basketball career included playing for the Terryville Oasis, that team in the New England Basketball Association, and he earned all-league honors. His team also won a number of championships. Terryville Oasis back then was comprised of local standouts, as well as college players from this state and others close by. He had tryouts with the Washington Bullets of the NBA and the Pittsburgh Condors of the ABA. He also played for the famous Harlem Wizards. Over the years, he has coached sports at many different levels, including the Forestville Little League Dodgers, and he also coached at Central and Eastern. Welcome to the Hall of Fame tonight, Art Whitehead.
Congratulations, Art. Well done.
Thank you. Praise to my Lord and Savior, which is the head of my life. To the committee, I'm extremely proud of what I accomplished and that you saw fit to put me into the Hall of Fame. Thank you. To Bob Callip, who hounded me forever. It's one thing that Bob is consistent in what he do. And if you, anyone in Bristol that know anything about sports, Bob's going to be around it. And when he gets on your behind, he's going to stay on it till you do what he wants you to do. I had written a speech when my daughter told me to get up and say thank you and sit down. Because she knows if I start telling my corny jokes, everybody may leave. But I'm extremely proud to be inducted with this class of 2019, and congratulations to the other inductees. You notice on the film that I had, I didn't show very much about sports because sports is past. The most important thing to me right now is family. And as long as this little guy here, you guys see running around here, this is what's keeping me around Connecticut. Otherwise, I'd be down in South Carolina with my brother, because this weather is something else. But this little guy here keeps me young, and I'm proud of him. I'm very proud of my 3 children. They were all league, but the best of all was my oldest son. He's the only one that really ever got to see me play. The others are so young that I was broke down by the time they came along. And I think every time they saw me play, I got injured. And I could see my daughter's always crying. I could look in the stands, I tore up my knee, she's crying. She cried all the way to the hospital. And now she's still saying, hurry up, Dad, and sit down. But I'm extremely proud of what they accomplished in sport. I'm proud of what I did myself. I'm glad that you saw fit to think that I was worthy of being inducted into this class of 2019. I better not tell this joke because my daughter's giving me the evil eye. So, but before I conclude, I'd like to mention a couple of people. Through high school, there weren't very many coaches that saw that I had potential. They only had one role to play. That was rebound and give the ball to George Bernard. He was the scorer. George is not here. Kev Phelan can attest to this. I think Kev is back there somewhere. It was George Bernard, Bernie Korn, and Ray Gagnon. They were the shooters. Art Whitehead was the rebounder. I don't know why, because I was the smaller of the 3. But that's what they saw fit to do, so I went with that. I excelled after I left high school. That's when I began to realize that I could get paid to do this. And once I found out I could get paid, I played for anybody that would pay. And I made quite a bit of money playing. I think Malcolm left. I don't know if Bruce Kaczynski is here. I probably would be the 3rd highest paid player out of Bristol, which I'm proud of. And if I could run around right now and play a little bit, I would do it now. Because back then, $200 and $300 and $400 a game was big money. Right now, it's nothing. I think my life might have been different if Magic Johnson had decided to wear Pro Kids instead of Converse. Because I was getting my sneakers. I think I was endorsed Pro Kids way back then when Gary Pearson was in school. Gary Pearson had different pair of sneakers every game because they were giving them to me and I would give them to him. But I would like to say, I'd like to mention a couple of people that's not here with us today. Phil Lewis, Jim Kane. These are guys that I played with, played against, played with. And Phil Lewis was always on the phone. He was going to call Bob up. I said, no, don't call him up. When I'm worthy, they'll put me in. Because Phil was concerned about me not getting in before him. And I told him, I said, everything works in its own time. When God sees fit for something to be done, it will be done. So you don't rush the process. And the last person I'd like to mention is my wife. She's not here. She passed away last year. And she would have been extremely proud because she sacrificed a lot. When I was up and down the road playing ball, she stayed home with Art. If she couldn't drag him with her, she would stay home and watch him. So she sacrificed a lot for me to accomplish my goals. And it will never be the same with her not being here. I'm going to sit down before I lose it. But I like to say I got my start in the Bristol Boys Club. And the worst moment that I could remember playing basketball, Mark Noon is here somewhere, was in Hartford. And Jim Abamitis. You know, you go into Hartford with, let's say, two white kids and everybody else is black in the area. And Jim Abamitis blocked this shot on this kid, and he blocked it. And I said, let's get the heck out of here as soon as this game. Let's get because, you know, Jim Abamitis, I don't know if you guys know Jim Abamitis, but he talk a lot of junk. Nobody's dunking on me. And we got in our cars and left because they didn't take no junk in Hartford. And like I said, Mark Noon, another story I'd like to tell you, Malcolm Harkeby and Steve Piker. I coached the Bristol Boys Club. They played in Forestville. They were the only team that I could never beat. And Malcolm is not here to hear that, but I don't know what it was. My team, I had good players. I had my son, Hernandez, Garcias, Matos. All those kids were playing for me, but we could never beat Forestville. And I'd like to get a rematch because I see Malcolm is broken down now. His knees are bad. He was telling me earlier his knees were bad, so I think we might have a shot now. So I'd like to conclude with saying thank you to the committee and Bob for pushing me to decide to fill out the questionnaire or whatever it might be. And I appreciate it. Thank you. By the way, he wants to speak for me.
That. Our next inductee is Bob Karen. Bob Karen was born in New Jersey, came to Bristol at a very early age. He played basketball and baseball at Sarah E. Reynolds School, and he was an all-star in the Junior Police Baseball League. He was also a standout athlete at Bristol High, class of 1948, later played baseball and basketball at Cheshire Academy. He played semi-pro football for the Bristol Blues in 1950, and in 1951 played baseball and basketball for UConn at its Waterbury branch. He played baseball for the Forestville Eagles and for the league champion Washington, D.C. Traders in the Summer Baseball League. After leaving the service in 1955, he played football and baseball at St. Lawrence University. He then went into coaching youth sports in Bristol, including Pony League, St. Matthew's CYO basketball, and Bristol Midget football, where he coached the Packers for 20 years. He was recognized for his dedicated service to Bristol Midget football in 1981, and he was presented the Harp Broderick Award by the Bristol Tramps in 1984 for his contributions to sports here in the city. Welcome into the Hall of Fame tonight, Bob Karen. Congratulations, Bob.
I want to thank the president of the Bristol Sports Hall of Fame, the officers of the Hall of Fame, and the board of directors. I don't have great credentials of performing in higher leagues. My forte was coaching, volunteering whenever anybody needed a coach for something. The person who, in my opinion, was the greatest volunteer in Bristol for many years, Dan Lavero, who was a member of the Bristol Hall of Fame. I was first introduced to volunteering when Carlton Bircher, the director of the Forestville Little League and the Forestville Boys Club, he called me and asked me if I would do him a favor. The baseball team played in the Bristol Youth Summer League, and his coach had just resigned for whatever reasons, and he needed a coach. So I said, okay, I'll help you out a little bit until you get somebody permanent. And the somebody permanent happened to be me. I coached in that league for 7 years. In the 8th year, a boyhood friend of mine, Billy Hyland, called me up and said, I heard a rumor that there's going to be a midget football league. He said, I will check around and see what's going on, and I'll let you know. Well, he let me know, and that was true. It wasn't a rumor. It was going to happen. So Billy and I went and signed up, and in the first year of that league, we had some fairly good success. Our team won the league. And we won the league because we had some fantastic little boys who were great athletes. One of which was Doug Jackson. Another one was Mike Giovinazzo. We could tell right away that these were promising athletes. And I talked to Mike about that a little while ago, and he told me it was very easy. He played quarterback, and he said, I just gave the ball to Doug Jackson and Robert Godet and watched everything happen. Mike actually won the league championship for us by throwing a pass in the last quarter that gave us the championship. The team was good, and not necessarily due to the coaching, but to the talent of the young boys that played on the team. Dougie Jackson went on in high school to win many awards during his 4 years of high school. He went to Columbia University, where he played football for 4 years. He got awards during the 4-year period he was there. And the biggest award he got was the Ivy League Player of the Year for Columbia. Columbia was not a very good football school, so it was more remarkable that they made him the Player of the Year. After Columbia, he signed contracts with the Dallas Cowboys. Stayed with the Cowboys for 2 years and was signed by the New York Giants for 2 more years. He was remarkable in more ways because when he was a youngster, he had polio. And his father worked extremely hard to build up his body and get rid of that. He also had another problem during high school and college years because he had a condition called dyslexia, which very simply is information going to the brain doesn't translate out the way it's wanted. But he persevered through that, and after 4 years of professional football, he had to give it up because he had a bad leg that wouldn't heal. There was another player on that first midget football squad, which I've already mentioned, Mike Giovinazzo. Mike went on to high school, played a lot of sports, went to Southern Connecticut University, graduated with a degree on physical education. Came back to Bristol and got hired by the physical education department and was a assistant coach for Dave Mills for 7 years. On the 8th year, the head baseball coach for Bristol Eastern retired. Mike applied for the job, and he got the job. A few years later, the head basketball coach retired. Mike applied for that job, and he also got that job. So now we have a young man who is coaching 2 sports and doing very well. Well enough so that his peers in the coaching profession in Central Connecticut got to recognize that this was an exceptional person as a coach. Mike was inducted into the Bristol Sports Hall of Fame and continued on with a wonderful coaching job. Eventually, he was inducted into the State of Connecticut Sports Hall of Fame. As of last spring, Mike was still coaching sports at Bristol Eastern. How much longer he does that, only Mike knows. 1932, a young boy was on my roster that the league gave me. The league picked all the players. Coaches had no say in players. And this boy came in as a 6th grader. Now that means he was going to be around until he graduated from grammar school into high school. He was a great boy. His name was Michael Gainham. Michael had fun playing football. But also, as the years passed and he kept coming back because he hadn't graduated yet, he got to be a better player. Until finally, when he was in the 8th grade, he was so good that I thought if Bristol Midget Football gave an award for the best player of a given year, he would have won it hands down. Now, this was accomplished with a handicap. Mike only had one hand. And that, to me, was an amazing thing. He loved the game so much, and he was so good at it, and he didn't let his handicap bother him. Mike graduated from Terryville High School, went to the University of Connecticut, graduated, came back to Terryville, went into the real estate business, was selected as sports and recreation director for the town of Terryville. Served on the board of directors for the city, was a volunteer in many things, and in 1981 was voted volunteer for the town of Terryville. One of the best things that I got out of volunteering was the people that you got to meet, both players and players' parents. A classmate of mine from high school had 4 sons, and he brought them to our team, and they played football and basketball. I met a person by the name of Don Brenner. Don Brenner had 5 sons. I also want to mention a gentleman by the name of John Ryan. John Ryan had 2 sons that played in the Midget Football League. John Ryan also helped coaching. He had a great way with young boys, and he had a great way with parents. John was on the board of directors of Bristol Midget Football, and was voted top mentor of the year twice. I personally did not have the fantastic credentials that you've heard about so far as a player myself, but voluntary work was what my niche was, and that's what I did the best I could. And I hope that the years I volunteered, I left footprints in the sands of time that others might possibly follow. I enjoyed my time coaching little boys, but you can't do this without the help of an understanding wife. My wife, Arlene, stood by most of my decisions, and it turned out to be a wonderful get-together. Thank you very much.
Our next inductee is Dean Pasevich. Dean played baseball for the Dodgers in the Forestville Little League between 71 and 73. In his final year, his team posted an unbeaten 25-0 record. He also struck out 18 consecutive batters in a 6-inning Little League game. His elementary school, Stafford Grammar School, went 10-0. He also went on to play sports at Bristol Eastern as a member of the class of 1979. He was a standout multi-sport athlete and received all-state honors his senior year in both football and in baseball. He was also a member of that school's basketball team. As quarterback for the Bristol Eastern football team, he passed for 3,024 career yards, which is among the top 10 for Bristol Public High School quarterbacks. His baseball batting average his junior and senior years were .450 and .426, respectively. He went on to play football at the University of Massachusetts, where he earned 3 varsity letters between 1980 and 1982. He was a 3-year starting quarterback at UMass, and he won 2 Dr. Edward Anderson MVP trophies given to the most valuable player for the UMass Holy Cross football game. So welcome into the Hall of Fame tonight, Dean Pasevich. And Brother Dave. Will speak on his behalf.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Dave Pasevich. I'm Dean's older brother. Dean just conceded to me that I am the better athlete of the family. I'm taller, I'm smarter, faster, and better looking. But he won all the awards. So as a quid pro quo, I agreed to read his speech. Thank you to the Bristol Hall of Fame Committee for this honor tonight, and congratulations to all the other inductees. Thank you to my coaches. A special thanks to Mr. Watson, Mr. Mills, and Mr. Giovinazzo. I'd also like to thank my family, friends for sharing this night with me, especially my brother who's bigger, faster, stronger. Oh, sorry. As a young athlete growing up in Bristol in the 60s and 70s, we had a Hall of Fame coaches at every level. By the time I was in 4th grade, I had 3 Hall of Fame coaches in my life. Mr. Watson was my Forestville Little League coach. Mr. Bates, who represented the Bristol Boys Club, would come to Stafford School on Friday nights with his son Jimmy to play recreational kickball and dodgeball. Mr. Giovinazzo was my phys ed teacher. Pretty good foundation for a 9-year-old. I was fortunate to play on 2 of Bristol's best teams. Every starting position player in the 1973 Dodgers played in the high school baseball. One season, we beat a team 33-0. The 1974 7th and 8th grade basketball teams at Stafford, coached by Mr. Giovinazzo, was so good that the 3 captains would take a shower at halftime and give our uniforms to the alternates so they could play in the second half. I was one of those guys. My quarterbacking career began unexpectedly. Growing up, playing pickup games, I would always play receiver. And in midget football, I played receiver. So when it came a time to try out for freshman football, I lined up as a receiver. Mr. G motioned over to me and gave me the ball, because you're the starting quarterback, he said, and I never got to play receiver again. Before that, I never spent much time learning to throw a football. The freshman football team practiced with these Voight rubber footballs. I wish I had a video of the first few weeks trying to throw a spiral with those balls, especially when it was raining. In high school, I played 3 sports: football, basketball, baseball. I was a starter in all 3 sports as a sophomore. I received all-state honors in football and baseball. My varsity coach, Dave Mills, responsible for my teaching me the skill set that would earn me a full scholarship as a quarterback at the University of Massachusetts. While at UMass, we won 3 Yankee Conference titles and were consistently ranked in the top 10 in the nation for Division I AA. One of the best things my parents ever did was finding Bristol, Connecticut as a place for us to grow up. My father was a government employee, and by the time I was 7, I lived in 5 states. Growing up in Bristol was a great life experience. Not only the coaches, but also my former teammates, teachers, sports fans, and all the great people of Bristol. Bristol is responsible for molding me into the person I've become, a son, a brother, husband, father, uncle, businessman, and friend. In closing, as I was reflecting on the honor you're giving me tonight, it made me feel so grateful for all the training and opportunity I've had. It made me work hard for what I've earned throughout my life. Thanks to everyone for enjoying your evening. Thank you. And can I have Dean come up here to receive his award, please? And let me say, Dean, the battles you and I gave each other growing up helped you earn this title right here, I'm telling you.
Our next inductee is Pat Parenti. He is a 1968 graduate of Bristol Central High School and later CCSU. Pat has coached a variety of sports. In his early years at Central, he coached freshman boys soccer, varsity girls soccer, and boys track and field. Pat is most well known for his involvement in high school wrestling, having served as Bristol Central assistant wrestling coach, then Central's head varsity coach. He's been a CIAC wrestling site director, a CIAC state tournament director, and a member of the CIA State Committee. Bristol Central teams have won 2 state titles and 11 conference titles under his leadership. He has received multiple awards for his efforts, including USA Wrestling Magazine's Assistant Coach of the Year, the Ralph Papazian Award, and the Bristol Tramp Service Award. He has been inducted into the New England Council Wrestling Hall of Fame. He took time over the years to coach youth baseball in McCabe Waters' Little League games. Bristol Park Department youth soccer he also coached, and he took part in Pony League baseball as a coach and volunteer at the Bristol Boys and Girls Club as a youth wrestling coordinator. Welcome into the Hall of Fame tonight, Pat Parenti.
Thank you, Tom. First of all, I'd like to congratulate all the inductees of the class of 2019. You are all well deserving of this honor. And thank you to the Bristol Sports Hall of Fame and the selection committee. I am grateful and really humbled by this honor. I was not blessed with the athletic talents of this outstanding class. I basically was a bench player, and that can be verified by my St. Anthony 8th grade teammates on table 21 over there. But on the bench, I did learn how to win, and I turned the page after a loss. I did, and I still do, love to teach. And through coaching, there's no better way to build relationships with students. I considered myself very lucky to have worked with some very accomplished coaches and administrators, many of who have their names hanging in this room. Bob DeSantis, Phil Pirog, Tony Carrier, Tom Moylan, Dave Greenleaf, and Dennis Sigmund, to name a few. When Dennis approached me to be his assistant coach back in 1978, no one could have guessed the success our teams would experience. And after 40 years, I could not have predicted that I would still be involved in wrestling today. Thank you, Dennis. I would especially like to thank the dedicated athletes I have coached and their parents, because their hard work is the reason I stand here tonight. To my family and friends, thank you for coming, and I hope you enjoy the evening. I would especially like to thank my parents, Lena and Jim, for instilling in me the meaning of working hard to achieve success. The most important people on my journey have been my two sons, Peter and Kevin. They have supported me in all my endeavors, and I love them both, and thank you. To my daughter-in-law, Jackie, and my granddaughter, Juliana, thank you for all your love and the fun you bring into my life. Lastly, it is said, behind every successful man is a great woman. And for everyone to understand what I mean by great woman, I have a little story. In 1974, I was coaching track and field back at Bristol Central. Back then, it was the coach's responsibility to line the stone dust track. Bernie remembers that. Steve, you ran on that track. Dave remembers doing that. What it involved was marking the track with lime, 40-pound bags of lime. I told Laureen I could not go out with her, it was only our second date, because I needed to get the track line for the first track meet. All I can say is my wife can help carry a 40-pound bag of lime, and I knew then she was a keeper for life. Laureen, over the past 44 years, you have supported me by being a mom, a partner, a booster club treasurer, a concession worker, a tournament worker, a chauffeur, and a wife. I love you and thank you for all your support. Again, I'd like to thank the Bristol Sports Hall of Fame for this honor, and congratulations to all the inductees. Thank you.
Good job. Congratulations. How about one more final round of applause for all of the inductees?
Thank you, Tom. Where's Phil Manarino? This is your cue. Okay. Okay, at this time, we would like to unveil the class of 2019 sign that will join all these others while we still have room next year. So, class of 2019, congratulations. On behalf of the Bristol Sports Hall of Fame, I'd like to thank you all for attending and ask you to join us next year on the Friday night before Thanksgiving for our 2020 class of Hall of Fame. Thank you.